Well, I look at the naive position he takes, for example, regarding the Soviet Union and negotiations. He says he doesn't need to deal from strength, and to quote him, I think they'll like me. I've dealt with a lot of the communists. I've never felt that was a primary factor in what they would do. I think he's an honest man, a dedicated man. I think he just isn't prepared for the presidency, and if you look at his lack of preparation is illustrated by the fact that he changes his position on issues on an average of about once a week, and that maybe is a little generous.
Dr. Kissinger's been doing a lot of traveling. Are we to assume that this traveling signifies optimism regarding the war in Southeast Asia?
Well, Dr. Kissinger's got a wide reputation. I can only tell you that his travels are not to find new dates.
We want you to know that we want and insist on having good law enforcement in our community. However, we cannot have the wanton, arbitrary killing of the citizens in our community. Some of the questions raised in the death of Napoleon Vinson and James Charles Brown leaves most of our community confused, many persons in our community questioning the actions of the police, and some persons in our community interpreting these killings as further examples of the oppression of black people and illustrations of rampant racism. And now property.
Excuse me, Mr. Carr.
Yes.
You're working today on the artificial seeding of clouds to iron out some of the nation's problems in regards to rain. Well, right now, Dallas is 50% of where it should be. What are our chances of getting rain?
Well, your chances of getting rain are the same today as they were yesterday.
Zero.
I don't think this conference is going to produce rain tomorrow for Dallas, unless someone engages a man in the cloud seeding business who seeds the proper type of cloud, and nature puts that cloud over Dallas so it can be seeded.
The senator entered the House chamber to an enthusiastic round of applause, not only from representatives, but from senators and a packed gallery. His speech was interrupted several times by applause. One member of the House told me in 20 years he'd never seen a warmer reception. The senator started out by talking about Texas and how independent Texans are, and of course how much he expected from Texas. But he added that he had traveled considerably in the last 20 months, and the way people think isn't how many people say they think.
I think few other people in our national life have been traveling any more intensively or more widely than I have, looking into the eyes, the faces, and the hearts of the people of this country. And I've listened to them and tried to sense what was within their deepest yearning and aspiration. And this is what I have learned. The people of America are not left or right or center. Rather, they are seeking a common sense way out of the wilderness in which they sense that this nation is now wandering.
It was obvious from the applause that interrupted his speech several times that Senator McGovern is immensely popular with this crowd, and never more popular than after his speech was open, when he moved around the floor of the House of Representatives shaking hands. It's almost too bad that legislators now have to get back to some brutal labor. Phil Reynolds, Channel 8 News on the Move in Austin.
Prior to Inauguration Day, do you think that he was reflecting anything that resulted from conversations he had had?
No, I was present.
I just went back to work this summer in September.
Mr. Hauser, the original filings of these complaints were made last month.
Let me explain this to you. You want to come in here?
Since we were with a group, I felt like I should clear anything. And of course, we certainly don't want to engage in community service. To move funds over directly to state and local governments, with eventually the concept of revenue sharing will become outdated and unnecessary. If the Congress can successfully
Our line is forward.
United World Colleges, we're so deeply appreciative of your being here.
Thank you very much indeed.
I had a telegram which been sent by Sir James Griffith. We do thank you for coming. Have a good day. God bless you. I can't take it good. I just $1,000. Thank you very much.
Question succeeds, we can still proceed with those amendments on this committee amendment.
Goes on because of the rule dealing with substitutes, then they would not be that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that it fails. Show Mr. Alex seated at the desk of Representative LaGuardia.
Mr. Speaker.
To this amendment, but those amendments then could be brought up and offered as amendments to the bill should this amendment be defeated. Now, I think there are 25 seconds. The previous question is second. Voting aye.
The non-union employees filing complaints today at the NLRB, National Labor Relations Board, are hoping to get an injunction against General Dynamics before the 19th of this month. That's the day that payroll deductions are to begin for every employee, or dues paid directly to the unions, according to Ray Vincent, spokesman for the non-union workers.
Requiring that non-union members either join the union and pay dues or pay an equal amount of money equivalent to the dues each month.
Whether you join the union or not.
Whether we join or not, right.
And you feel this is a direct violation of the Texas Right to Work law?
According to the Attorney General's ruling of 1961, opinion WW 1088, I believe it is, and he stated that it definitely is a violation of the Texas Right to Work laws.
The original complaint was filed September 20th by another General Dynamics employee, John Hauser. An investigation has been completed, but the NLRB has not made a ruling. 10 non-union employees filed with NLRB today against their employer. More are expected tomorrow. All who filed a complaint said they are not afraid of being fired. A clause in the National Labor Relations Act prevents a company from doing so. There are over 2,000 non-union workers now employed at General Dynamics. Jim Green, Channel 8 News on the Move, Fort Worth.
Now, each county area in Texas will receive a share of funds based on its population, its tax effort, and its income level. The poorer it is and the greater the tax effort it makes to meet its own needs, the more revenue sharing the area will get. The county government is distinguished from the county area, which is just an intermediate calculation category, not a distributee. Will get that portion of the county area funds which is equivalent to the ratio of its non-educational tax revenue to the total non-educational tax revenue raised by the county and all of its cities.
The House of Representatives has recessed until 10:30 Tuesday morning after tonight's ineffectual try at passage of their own insurance bill. Early today, representatives had worked on the Senate bill, but the proposed law now before them bears little resemblance to that passed last week by the Senate. What happened this evening was passage on the second reading by the House. A two-thirds vote would have suspended House rules and let legislators vote on final or third passage. But that two-thirds vote wasn't forthcoming. Speaker Rayford Price tells me they'll have another run at that bill in the morning. But as a practical matter, there's probably no way the House will get a bill out before the end of the session at midnight Tuesday. Even if they do, word is the Senate will reject the House bill and time will run out on this special session. The question now, therefore, is whether Governor Preston Smith will follow through on his threat to call another immediate special session if lawmakers don't pass the insurance bill. But he's not talking about that right now. Phil Reynolds, Channel 8 News on the Move in Austin.
I belong to the Variety Club International. I'm a gold card member, and we're doing what we can for the children that have suffered. There are plenty of organizations trying to prevent these sufferings from occurring in the future, but they must be done between governments. You can't go around with do-gooders running around behind trying to interfere with government decisions.
No question it will totally undermine national security. His newest plan on Vietnam is hard to characterize optimism versus pessimism, but I would say you'd have to be pessimistic if he had no negotiations. In that context, I'm optimistic.
The commissioners were frequently rather uppity, even when they sat down on floor level like everybody else. But today, with their new pedestal, they attained new heights, both literally and figuratively. Back before bids were let for a comprehensive computer system for Tarrant County, a spokesman from the UNIVAC computer system stood at this podium and told the court that his company could not bid because the specifications were so slanted toward IBM that nobody else really had a chance. Today, a spokesman for the Honeywell Computer Corporation told the court that the committee which guided their decision had acted in an emotional and biased fashion. He said, as had UNIVAC before him, that the way the ground rules were laid, nobody but IBM had even a chance of getting the contract. Some members of the Commissioner's Court almost nodded off to sleep during the Honeywell man's presentation. When the time came for the court to respond, Commissioner Richardson remained absolutely silent. Commissioner Lewis said if Honeywell wanted to complain, why hadn't they done so sooner, like before the bids were taken? Commissioner Mabus said he didn't feel that the court could afford to offend the committee which had advised it by taking any kind of action, such as a reevaluation of last Monday's decision. Commissioner Dick Anderson, for the first time in a long time, made noises like the old Dick Anderson I used to know, demanding to hear explanations from both sides of the issue. Of course, the court took no action. Another incident which occurred today which might possibly be attributed to the new pedestal. Sheriff Lon Evans appeared before the court, wanted to buy some new radio equipment. In fact, it had already been bought and had in fact already been built. County Auditor Jack Benson pointed out that the law requires for certain formalities, like taking bids. The court voted for the sheriff over Benson. Benson then replied by saying, well, I may not be able to certify that purchase unless we qualify under the law. I was following behind the sheriff as he walked out of the courtroom when he turned to a friend, chuckled, and said, they really set that auditor down, didn't they? Jerry Taft, Channel 8 News, reporting.
Use. I think the leadership of this council ought to take a position this council can take in the form of a motion.
Only pets that are safe and healthy. Paragraph A of this section reads, PCA during the Easter season of the year. Southwest animals should
do some rainfall evaluation activities for two of the counties in the state. That is Gregory County and Turner County. In Gregory County, the data for 1972 will become available sometime in January, I'm told. We have the general impression from consistently requested that we do rain is available. I'm going to have to move along. During 1963, we proposed to use the same organization. The county coordinators requested various types of activity. And you'll note that invariably in the